name is Scott Saperstein. I'm currently the principal at Ruth K. Broad Bay Harbor K-8 Center. That's a mouthful, and it's here on my shirt. We're RKBBH in Bay Harbor Islands, Florida. And my journey in this position, I think everybody's story is a little unique. Mine, I'm in Miami 16 years. So I'm originally from New York, and I started my educational career there as a substitute teacher during grad school when I was studying to get my master's degree in school counseling. So from New York, I moved to California. I spent 5 years out in California as a teacher and a guidance counselor in several schools out there. And then my wife and I moved with my son, my one son at the time, I have two boys, to Miami in the late 90s. Actually, no, early 2000s. I'm getting my states mixed up between California and Florida. Early 2000s. And I started as a guidance counselor in a few schools in the Allapattah area and the Liberty City area. And guidance counseling is very rewarding, but it also gives you opportunities that teachers don't have, which is to work closely with the administration. So they tend to delegate some administrative tasks to the guidance counselors, being that they're considered part of the office per se. So you get into some of those types of roles, administrative roles, just naturally as being a guidance counselor. And then I took a liking to the kinds of things I was doing, for the administration. And then I guess the natural progression was to go back to school and which I did. I got a specialist degree in ed leadership, and I was fortunate enough at a school. I was at Aventura Waterways in the northern part of Miami-Dade County, and the assistant principal had moved on and got promoted to be a principal, and I was the guidance counselor, and they knew I was certified to be a part of the leadership team, and I was fortunate enough to secure that assistant principal position, which was 12, 13 years ago. And I was there for 4 years at Aventura Waterways as the assistant principal. And then my neighborhood school, Virginia A. Boone Highland Oaks Elementary School, where I reside in that neighborhood, the principal retired. And I networked and put my name in the hat for that. And I was fortunate to be selected as the principal of that school. And I was there for 4 years. And then I moved on here to Bay Harbor. And this is my fourth year here at Bay Harbor.
That is an awesome career journey coming from California, then to Florida, and moving up the ranks here in Florida. As the principal at a K-8 center, what does the day-to-day job look like for you?
Well, right now, if we're talking current, it's definitely shifted a bit. When you're the principal, you're kind of the cheerleader for the school, you're the instructional leader for the school, and now those two things you could add to the list, chief health officer. Because of what's happening with the pandemic, our role has shifted a little bit to ensure that the campus is obviously safe. We're following, the staff and the students are following the health guidelines from the district and the state and the CDC. And then unfortunately, we've had some COVID cases. So there's a lot of juggling with personnel and putting people on quarantine and making sure we have substitute teachers to monitor those classes where the teachers are out and they're remoting in to the students as opposed to being physically with the students. So right now, unfortunately, due to the health situation, a lot of my time right now is maintaining the health of the building, working with the custodial staff to ensure that the cleaning protocols are in place all the time, and working with parents and students and staff with respect to the pandemic.
Cool. Okay, I want you to, because this program is geared toward eighth grade students. I want you to think back to your eighth grade self. what, if you can remember, what career did you want, what career pathway did you want to go down when you were in eighth grade? And does your job as a principal connect in any way to that particular career path?
Well, I think in eighth grade, I'm a huge Yankee fan. I dreamed of playing center field or playing shortstop for the Yankees at that age. But I guess what I'm doing now obviously doesn't connect so much to that. Although I would say that I always enjoyed at that age. I always enjoyed being part of a group or part of a team. And I think that when you're a principal, um, that mindset of a team is extremely important because you can't do everything yourself. You could try, but it's impossible. You need a really good team around you to make sure that everything that should happen is happening in a school or any organization. So I think good communication skills is vital. Making sure that you're building trust with your people, solid relationships, making sure you're training people properly for the job that they have to undertake, supporting people that want to move up and want to learn more, promoting professional development, and giving people opportunities to grow. I think kind of relates to a baseball team in that sense, where you have coaches and the manager and the players, and your goal is to win and to do it together as a team.
Okay, great answer. Over the course of your life, how many jobs have you had? And if you can tell us a little bit about one or two of the jobs that you had.
I was fortunate that I really didn't have a set um, job in mind, and I didn't enter one industry and stay in that industry. So, I'll give you an example. When I went out to California, I put aside education for a little bit because I wanted to explore some other industries, and moving was a good opportunity. It was kind of I was pivoting to a new place, a new location, so I wanted to put education on the back burner a little bit. So I actually entered the hospitality industry for a hotel in California as the guest relations manager, which was a position they newly created position. And when they saw my education level and my ability to communicate well through the interview, they offered me that job, and that was a nice experience. I've always wanted to work in the hospitality industry, and that was a really nice opportunity. You dealt with In that position. I dealt with a lot of high profile guests, guests that are repeat customers of the hotel, or people that some famous people that came to the hotel to, perhaps they were doing a concert and they were staying there for a week or two before and after the concert. So I dealt with a lot of important individuals, and that was a lot of fun. Um, I also was fortunate to have a father that kind of wanted me to try different things, and he had a small company. And in the summers, when I was a teenager, he had me performing different tasks for him, going out on the road with some of his employees, and it was in the petroleum industry. So we would go out to some gas stations, and we would deal with the budget, and we would deal with personnel issues, and we would, fix, a gasoline pump that might have broken down, or a sign that was down, or perhaps a leak that was, happening in the building. So I assisted. I didn't, I wasn't the primary person, but that opportunity opened my eyes, and it showed me that there's a lot out there. There's a lot to experience, and being young and trying new things often is, I think, a really wise a wise move. So you kind of solidify what you like to do.
Perfect. And that really leads into my next question. I want you to think back to your first job, and I want you to tell us one thing that you took away from that job, whether it was positive or negative.
Hmm. Well, my first real job was when I finished my master's degree in school counseling. I worked in New Jersey for a community college, Raritan Valley Community College in Somerville, New Jersey. So that was really exciting to actually finish my degree and then soon after secure a job in the field that I was studying. So I was really excited about it. And that was a great opportunity. And I really enjoyed it because I was part of the advisement team, academic advising and some counseling as well. And I met somebody there who was there a long time and took me under his wing, so to speak, and was a mentor to me in terms of how to be a professional, what it means to come in on time, to dress properly, to speak properly, to follow a certain protocol. And in that educational environment, he was very familiar with what needed to be done and how it should be done in the proper way. And I was 23, 24 years old, so I was really young and very green. And he was there about 20 years, and he was very open and taught me a lot about just how to function in a professional environment. And to this day, I'm very grateful that I met him.
Awesome. So now I want to talk about your education path just a little bit. I want you to share with us what that education path looked like. Were there any special certifications that you had to receive? I know you were in counseling, and now you're a principal. What were some of the certifications, some of the courses that you had to take in order to get to the point where you're at now?
So it was a long road, definitely worth it, but a long road. I received a bachelor's degree. My undergraduate degree was in history. I originally, and I did for a while, I was a history teacher early on in my career. So I majored in history. And then shortly after receiving my undergraduate degree, I was a substitute teacher during the day and went to night school for my master's degree in counseling. That took a year and a half. And so I fulfilled those requirements. I had my master's in school counseling a year and a half later. And then in order to enter the ranks of principalship or assistant principalship, I had to then receive a degree in educational leadership. And they offer that as a master's or a doctorate, but being that I had my master's already in school counseling, and at the time, I didn't want to go all the way to the doctoral level, I kind of got an in-between degree called a specialist degree, which is, halfway to the doctorate, but not quite there. And I received that degree in ed leadership. And then with that, you had to pass what's called the Feely exam, the educational leadership exam. And once you have your degree and then pass the Feely, most school districts have what's called an eligible candidate roster. So you would be able to get on that roster, and then you would be on a list of people eligible to become an administrator. And then, of course, you have to interview when a position becomes available, and then hope that you receive an offer.
Awesome. So now I want you to go back to eighth grade Scott again. I want you to talk to eighth grade Scott, and I want, if there's any advice that you can share with eighth grade Scott, what will it be?
That's a great question. I would say make sure you take your schooling very seriously. I know when eighth grade, you're not quite there yet, where you see kind of the future for yourself long term, kind of in the moment. Um, I would say to my eighth grade self, if I had to do it again, I would say um, try to look beyond what you're doing today and think about what your future may be, and really strive and make sure you're preparing and setting goals for yourself so you can make it to whatever that goal is. The eighth grade Scott would be able to see it somewhat, and take your schooling very seriously. Make sure you're staying in school and getting as many degrees as you can, and learning as much as you can.
Great. Now we're down to the final question, and I want you to speak to the student who has his or her mind made up that they want to be a principal. What advice could you give them to help them reach that goal of becoming a principal?
Well, for young people, there's a lot of opportunities in schools through, this just comes to mind, that we have a Future Educators of America FEA club here at my school. Most schools do have it. So I would say if you're a young person and you want to be a principal, I think first you have to understand um, what the teaching profession really is, because most principals come through the teacher ranks or the guidance counselor ranks first. So in order to be a good principal, you have to understand what people that you're working with, what they're dealing with, what their challenges may be, and what the field in general looks like. So I would get involved in clubs and organizations that focus on education. I would volunteer if to look for volunteer opportunities where you can do maybe some peer tutoring with another student and understand what it is to educate someone else and what the field itself looks like.
Mr. Saperstein, this concludes our interview. Thank you so much for your time today and being a part of this program. We
Sure.
appreciate you at Junior Achievement so much. Have a great day.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.